Thank you very much. Our next witness is my friend and Illinois colleague, Congressman Luis Gutierrez, who represents the 4th Congressional District and has done so since 1993. He chairs the Congressional Hispanic Caucus's Immigration Task Force, and he's a longtime champion for immigration reform. There are many outstanding Hispanic political leaders in America, but none more forceful and more articulate and more of a leader than my colleague, Congressman Gutierrez. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Graham, for inviting me to testify here today. I'm one of the proudest things I am being the state of Illinois is the senior senator from my state. I'm so happy and delighted to be here with you, Senator Durbin. I've traveled from coast to coast to visit dozens of cities and communities and to listen to immigrant stories. Some of my colleagues have visited their cities that are here with me today. And immigrants everywhere tell me that they are regarded with suspicion. They tell me they are frequently treated differently because of the way they look, sound, or spell their last name. In Alabama, I met 20-year-old Martha, a young woman raised in the U.S. One late afternoon while driving, she was pulled over. She was arrested for driving without a license and jailed so her status could be checked. Because her U.S. citizen husband was not present, their Alabama-born 2-year-old son was taken from the backseat of her car and turned over to State Welfare Agency. In South Carolina, I met Gabino, who has been in the U.S. for nearly 13 years. He's married, father of 2 South Carolina-born kids who works hard and owns his own home. Gabino was stopped because he was pulling into his mobile home community. One of 3 other Hispanic residents stopped that evening. Gabino was arrested driving without a license. He was then placed in deportation proceedings. We can all guess why the police chose to stop Gabino and Martha. Profiling Hispanics and immigrants is the most efficient way to get someone deported. But you can't tell if someone is undocumented by the way they look or dress or where they live. In Chicago, a Puerto Rican constituent of mine was detained for 5 days under suspicion of being undocumented. Indeed, sadly, Senators, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of cases of unlawfully detained U.S. citizens and legal residents in the United States each year in violation of their constitutional rights. Some of them have even been deported and then been brought back to the United States of America. That's not an old story. That's the story of today. The federal government took a step in the right direction when it legally challenged the Show Me Your Papers laws in Alabama, South Carolina, and Arizona, because the state laws are unconstitutional and interfere with the federal government's authority to set and enforce immigration policy. But it makes no sense to file suit against unconstitutional laws on the one hand, and on the other hand, allow those same laws to funnel people into our detention centers and deportation pipeline. Gabino has been denied relief from deportation because he's been stopped too many times to the federal government for driving without a license. The government is complicit in such serial profiling because while the states cannot deport Gabino and break up his family of American citizens, the federal government is doing just that. And programs like 287G and Secure Communities end up ensnaring tens of thousands of Gabinos every year. Because of the racial profiling, the programs incentivize. If we're serious about truly ending racial profiling, we need to back up our lawsuits with actions that protect families and citizens and children and uphold our Constitution. I guess the gist of it is, I'm happy when the federal government says this is racial profiling, we're going to fight it. And they go into the federal court in Arizona and South Carolina and in Alabama. But until we tell the local officials, if you continue your serial profiling, we are not going to deport those people, and they're going to continue to do it. It just incentivizes. So I hope we can have a conversation about that also. Thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Thank you, Congressman Gutierrez. Congressman Keith Ellison of Minnesota.